We're starting at 1:30 today. Ms. Gay, will you call the roll?
Yes. Commissioner Strange,
Present.
Commissioner Ellison,
Here.
Commissioner Davis,
Here.
Commissioner Hunter is out, Commissioner Stewart,
Here.
Commissioner Stockdale,
Present.
and Commissioner Dewey is out, and Chair Bryan.
I'm here.
Okay, and we have a quorum with 2
All right,
absences.
we are in session. The agenda has changed because of a withdrawal of an application. We were scheduled to to hold a public hearing of a lot consolidation and partitioning application and for 42 Columbia Avenue. Tim Willard, the attorney, has notified the commission that they wish to withdraw that application, so that shortens our agenda today. That happened basically a last-minute change. The matter on the agenda for today, before I get to that, Ms. Womack, do you have any correspondence and if you would, give us verification of notice?
No correspondence has been received. As far as verification, the agenda was posted in City Hall and on the city portal on March 31st. Public notice for today's hearing for the preliminary review was posted in City Hall and on the city portal on March 19th. I can verify that it met the requirements for the 15-day publication in the newspapers, and signage and mailings have gone out to the property.
All right, thank you. The next matter is the preliminary review of a minor subdivision application number 0624-13 on the matter of the minor subdivision of property located in the R1 residential district. This is property designated as 104 Scarborough Avenue, and I believe David Hutt is here on behalf of the applicant. Mr. Hutt, do you have a presentation for us, or would you rather have the building inspector's report first?
I'll leave that up to the pleasure of the commission, either way.
Corey, are you ready to go? Can you go ahead and give us your report at this time?
I can do that, Chairman.
Please.
For this report, I'd prefer just to read off the primary components of it.
Yes, sir.
And that would start with the project description. This, as you mentioned, the subject parcel was located in R1 residential district and is irregular in shape, with a total road frontage of 219.53 feet on Scarborough Avenue. The applicant desires to partition the one parcel into 4 parcels. 3 parcels, which contain lots 5 through 10, will have a proposed road frontage each of 50 feet on Scarborough Avenue, and all 3 of those will contain 7,500 square feet in gross lot area. The northernmost parcel, lots 11 and 12, will have a road frontage of 69.53 feet on Scarborough Avenue, consisting of 6,058 square feet. It's important to note that this northernmost parcel is irregularly shaped and would not contain a 4,000 square foot rectangle within it. However, the applicant received a variance to this applicable code section, particularly 270-22A3, at a Board of Adjustment hearing on November 25th, 2024, with a vote of 5-0 in approval, in favor. A formal arborist report will be submitted prior to a public hearing. Per the city's tree code, all future submissions shall be required to comply with City Tree Code, Chapter 253. And the applicant shall cause the removal of all structures and coverages by completing the demolition permit application. The applicant hasn't submitted an application to date. The only 2 things that I would note with this report is, should the Planning Commission grant approval at a subsequent public hearing, a condition should be set that that the future homes to be built shall be designed in such a way that the incorporation of the required off-street parking relative to the house placement shall minimize the impact on existing trees in a manner that is acceptable to the city arborist. It's also recommended that the proposed irregularly shaped parcel, lots 11 and 12, shall have off-street parking located on the southern side so as not to interfere with the traffic conditions due to the termination of the Scarborough Avenue grass median. This irregularly shaped northern lot already has a curb cut, so my recommendation is to continue with that location of the curb cut. And that's all I have.
All right.
I got a couple questions. First of all, thank you very much for putting those additional notes in there about the conditions we should use. That's very, very helpful. Really appreciate that. The variance was received on November 25th. What is the time frame of that approval? I mean, do the lots have to be formally divided within 6 months?
So usually, if a Board of Adjustment variance is sought, one of the conditions, other than the 6-month expiration of it, is to apply for a planning commission application.
Right, okay.
Within 45 days.
Okay, all right, so
And
it meets
then-
that criteria. So it's not just site plan review, it's any application to us. Okay, then we're covered.
And in terms of the plats that you looked at, there were 3 filed. One is called Concept 1, and there's some
He'll explain that.
red letters and whatnot. I'm sure Mr. Hudd will tell us more about that. But which plat did you actually review upon which you based your opinion?
You're correct. There were 2 plats. The one that I chose was the one that had the 3 lots that extend all the way to the rear, abutting lots 15 and 16, with the irregularly shaped parcel, the rear portion of it also abutting lots 15 and 16.
And that's the plat that shows that you can't get a 4,000 square foot rectangle on lots 11, 12, and part of 13 and 14.
That's correct.
Okay. Anyone else? Any questions for Mr. Shinko? Corey, thank you very much.
Excellent.
Mr. Hutt?
Good afternoon. For the record, my name is David Hutt. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Morris James. This afternoon, I'm representing Walls Apartments LLC, the owner of the property that was just described as this application was introduced. I think the only individual sitting in the audience, so there won't be any confusion, is Bill Lingo, one of the principals of Walls Apartments LLC. And before I get into actually what I was going to say, Commissioner Gay actually pointed out or questioned, I guess, how long the Board of Adjustments approval would be good. That's an interesting topic on this, because anyone who knows the history of this application knows that we actually made that's a second visit to the Board of Adjustment. I may have disagreed with the interpretation, but we went back to the Board of Adjustment and got the same variance that we had before. The code is very clear about the site plan, less clear about a subdivision plan, which I think was the point that that you were making. But either way,
Either way, you're covered.
either way, we are covered at this point for this hearing. The property, as you can see, is shown on the images around the screen. And one of the things, even as it was being discussed sort of preliminarily here, there's a reference to it as one parcel. And just to be technical about it, it is certainly one tax parcel, but it is, when you look at the old plots and such, it is certainly not, was never one parcel. It's actually 10 lots or parts of 10, 8 full lots and part of 2 lots from Block 22 of the original Rehoboth Heights 1924 subdivision. Most people would recognize this as the former location of Walls Apartments, which obviously hasn't been there for a couple years at this point, sort of anticipation and leading to this afternoon and this re-subdivision of the property. As I think most of you know, if you've heard me speak before, I enjoy history too much. And one of the things that fascinates me about this property is that you can see on the screen sort of the intersection or where the meeting point of the 2 primary subdivisions for the city of Rehoboth Beach. We're dealing with part of the Rehoboth Heights subdivision, Block 22, but the lots that are next to 11 and 12 over here, those are part of the Rehoboth Beach Camp Meeting Association subdivision, which is the other primary subdivision, as the Planning Commission knows, in the city of Rehoboth Beach. And in my mind, that's part of the explanation as to why it's at an angle there, is because this is the meeting of the 2 primary subdivisions within the city. It also highlights sort of one of the differences between the Rehoboth Beach Camp Meeting Association and Rehoboth Heights. In Rehoboth Beach Camp Meeting Association, when you look at that original plot, there are exceptions to this, but as a general rule, it was 50 by 100 lots throughout many of the streets. Rehoboth Heights is different. Those are 25 feet by 100 feet deep in many of those locations. And of course, that differs from the zoning code that you have today and the minimum lot sizes and requirements that exist. They're not shown on this screen, but the two of the lots actually run across the top of this. They were very deep lots starting on Philadelphia Street and then running all the way over to the Rehoboth Beach Camp Meeting Association subdivision. The other lots, of course, fronted on Scarborough Avenue as they are presently planned to do and as the entrances are currently located on there. As it was introduced, when you total up this one parcel or the 10 lots from Rehoboth Heights, it is 28,558 square feet of land. And you would think intuitively that you wouldn't struggle to get 4,000 or 5,000 square lots out of 28,000 square feet of land. But of course, the geometry of the 28,558 square feet fails us in order to accomplish that readily. And so, as was noted, we did go to the Board of Adjustment twice. And at the Board of Adjustment, received a variance for the 4,000 square foot rectangle that the code requires to be within a 5,000 square foot lot. We certainly recognize that the reason, at least one of the reasons why that was adopted and became a part of the code is to prevent irregularly shaped lots. And so that was certainly why we needed to go to the Board of Adjustment. And at the Board of Adjustment, this was reviewed, but the reason why, Commissioner Bryan, that this says Concept 1 is because the surveyor, when we initially worked on this, worked up a number of concepts for us to try to figure out the geometry of creating code-compliant lots that met all of the various requirements. And certain of them were easy to meet, like the square footage. There's more than ample square footage here. The road or street frontage was easy to meet because we have more than 200 feet of road frontage, so that was not a problem to meet. And the only one that we really struggled with, or that he struggled with, I wasn't doing the surveying, but the one that was a problem was that 4,000 square foot rectangle. And so within your materials, and the same thing was shown to the Board of Adjustment, this is another concept. If my memory serves correctly, this was concept 3, but it might have been 4, because I know we had a total of 5 at one point. And this concept, and I don't think that Mr. Schenko necessarily has reviewed it for this purpose, but his predecessors have. This is actually meets the code of the city of Rehoboth Beach, even though it is, I would argue, an even more irregularly shaped subdivision than what the Board of Adjustment granted the variance for. But as you can see, we can create lots that all meet the minimum square footage, meet the minimum street frontage on Scarborough Avenue, and contain a 4,000 square foot rectangle within the lot itself, or each of the 4 lots. And of course, nobody wanted that. The Lingo family didn't want that as for the 4 lots to be created along Scarborough Avenue here. And of course, that leads us right back to the variance. And you can see where the cursor is located on the field. That's on the 4,000 square foot lot block there. You can see there's 219.7 square feet of the 4,000 square foot rectangle that doesn't make its way into the proposed lot that includes lots 11 and 12 and then part of 13 and 14. We recognize, I know Mr. Schenko had sent me an email regarding the need for the arborist report, and so that will be undertaken. With respect to the other comment regarding the location of the off-street parking and even the driveway, I suppose, for the irregularly shaped lot where the cursor is located. There'd be no proposal to move that, so it would stay at the southern end of that lot. You can see that the other proposed curb cuts, they were actually on another plot that was within the materials filed as part of this subdivision application. With that background and information, myself and Mr. Lingo are certainly happy to answer any questions that the commission or staff may have. We hope that this is a relatively straightforward application, as we've met everything except for what we have, all the requirements except for what we have the variance for from the Board of Adjustment. But if there are certainly any questions, I'm happy to try to answer them.
Mr. Hutt, do you have a problem with the condition that the building inspector talked about? Future homes be built shall be designed in such a way, incorporation of off-street parking relative to house placement to minimize the impact on existing trees acceptable to the city arborist?
Because I'm an attorney, I'd like to wordsmith that a little bit. And
Okay.
well, conceptually, I would agree with that, but I would note that what really needs to happen is whenever these properties are developed, the applicant, the person who's going to build a home on it ultimately, needs to simply comply with the city ordinances that are set forth. I don't know that there's a special condition that's necessary for that exists beyond you need to comply with the city arborist requirements and the code.
I think the intent is to preserve as many trees as possible, right?
If I may speak?
Yes, please.
So the survey we're looking at right now has some existing curb cuts. If you notice on lots 5 and 6 on the most southern side, that curb cut seems to run right into the 24-inch tree. And so the primary reason to that comment is so when they do come in, when these do get subdivided, we create the new parcel numbers, they have a new home build application come in, that it doesn't, that the curb cut could be on the other side of the lot to keep those trees in. Because it has, the other one too on lots 9 and 10 show that real large 36-inch tree right there. We don't know if those dimensions of that existing gravel drive are 9 by 18, how that would fit. And so in doing this, I didn't want to inadvertently have these existing curb cuts in any way be construed as that they would remain.
And so it is for the preservation of the existing trees, and so that goes over and above the code. The code are minimum tree requirements, not necessarily preservation of, although it allows for preservation, but I think that's why we would put it as a condition.
And I would say that this is a subdivision, and the code is what should drive that.
Yeah.
And there's other considerations, and I do not know the geometry of this at the moment, but certainly we could at the public hearing, is when you move those curb cuts, you may reduce parking along Scarborough Avenue. And so parking is always at a premium in the city, and so that's another consideration with respect to the location of those curb cuts beyond just the location of any existing trees that may be located on the properties. But again, the condition that's proposed is beyond what, as you said, is beyond what the code requires, and the applicant would request that the code be what's applicable here, because if trees, as you know, if trees are removed for the construction of a home, there's language in the code about the replacement of those trees and the rate at which that must be done. The caliper, I guess, would be the better term to use at that point. And that is what the applicant would request be applicable to this, is the city's code and tree ordinance.
Now, what about the second condition? He mentioned that there shall be off-street parking located on the southern side so as not to interfere with traffic conditions due to the termination of Scarborough Avenue grass median.
Yes, that's the lot 11 and 12 here, and that would
Right.
mean that that's a logical place for that driveway and the off-street parking to be located.
So you have no issue with that?
That's correct.
Between now and the public hearing, you think you could wordsmith whatever that first condition is that you're a bit unhappy with?
Absolutely.
And is it, since we're talking about ultimately the building, is it the plan to build all 4 at once, or are the lots going to be sold and then built individually? Do we
I'll
know?
have to ask my client
Okay.
that question.
That may not be known, but I'm just curious. Because if it's going to be all 4 houses, it'll be back to us for site plan review. That's part of the reason I asked.
My name's Bill Lingo. The answer to that question is the plans are in stages or phases. We will build additional houses on those vacant lots. It's all designated for children and the family. So we have lots identified for our kids.
Lucky kids.
Are you adopting anyone else?
Can we be
I
on
have
the
enough.
list?
All right, any other questions? So the next move is a public hearing for this. Is there a motion to forward this to a public hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I don't know that we have to do roll call.
Go ahead and do it.
Do roll call?
Yeah. that way
Okay.
There's never a question.
Okay. Commissioner Strange?
I vote yes.
Commissioner Ellison?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Commissioner Stewart?
Yes.
Commissioner Stockdale?
Aye.
And I vote aye, and the Chair Brian?
Votes aye.
And it's unanimous. We'll move it to public
Set a
hearing at the
public
next meeting.
hearing As soon as you can get you on our agenda.
Okay. We're going to talk about meeting dates in a minute, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mr. Hutt, anything else before you depart?
That is all I have this afternoon. Thank you very much.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'd just like to make a comment on Corey's comments. I think it behooves all the applicants, when the building inspector makes helpful suggestions that some people may not pick up on initially. I think it's beneficial. Doesn't mean you have to use them, because you say you have to follow the code. But I think having input like that is just generally important and maybe beneficial. That's all. Thank you. And thank you for doing that, Corey.
All right. Thank you, sir. Mr. Shinko, while you're here, do you have a building inspector's report?
I have a little bit prepared, mostly in bullet statements of everything that we have upcoming projects and current projects that I can give a sentence or two about each.
Yes. Yes, I know you are
It's been,
quite busy.
yes, I will say I very recently finished the building inspector's report for the BOA upcoming this month for 17 Baltimore with the Crown Hotel. So that has a lot of language that is pursuant to the ongoing preliminary for that involving loading docks. So I will, I would hopefully suggest that if you can watch that after it's done to see, what the arguments are and the information that we bring forward. We've got a lot of helpful information we found through certain engineering handbooks that may be helpful.
Good.
Great.
Other than that, the current projects that we are handling right now is Coast Hotel is the first one I have. We look forward to revising our report and going into a bit more in-depth city records research involving permits of compliance that were stated were involved in previous years of different other restaurants. I want to verify that information, and we'll have a revised combined report for that one. Bellhaven, we are working on finalizing. We are almost there with the report. The Atlantic Crown is also current, but that's going to be pending the BOA variance hearing upcoming this month. And obviously 104 Scarborough that we just had for the public hearing. Upcoming projects that are on the horizon, the public library,
Excuse me,
sir.
would you repeat on 1 Rehoboth? I didn't pick up.
1 Rehoboth, is that
You
the?
didn't mention that, did you?
You talking about Bellhaven?
I'm sorry, Bellhaven.
Yeah, it's 2.
We have Bellhaven saved in our property files as 2 Rehoboth.
2 Road.
1 Rehoboth right now is currently set for partial demolishing this month. The Bellhaven, for the amendments, Wallace Montgomery and the Building and Licensing Department are about 95% done with the report. We are just, he's waiting on me. I have to formalize a bit more numbers and calculations for the floor plans. But other than that, we are pretty good to go. I've reached out to Ball Palmer. There's a couple things that we picked up engineering-wise that we really love to have his thoughts on. And so that's another portion that we're waiting on for the Bellhaven. Upcoming projects, the public library, I understand that that question was posed. We briefly talked about it at the previous biweekly meeting. I reached out to the contacts that I found through city emails and informed them that they would indeed need to have a site plan review. So with that knowledge, to talk amongst their team and get back to me with how they wanted to proceed with that. It does very certainly seem to present that some of that addition is on city property. So that would be something that we'd want to look at. And I will let you know as soon as I hear from them on that one. Another one is the summer house. They are looking for improvements behind, if you're on Rehoboth Avenue, behind the outdoor dining. They do have an application in, and City Secretary and I have a meeting scheduled with them and their representatives next week to go over exactly where they left off before the personnel change and how to get them moving forward. But I foresee that to be on maybe a June agenda if timing works out. Also, Canal Side Inn. That's another one that the City Secretary and I will be meeting with next week. We have a date set already. We can provide more information on both the Summer House and Canal Side Inn at the next biweekly meeting, but they are looking to go up for site plan review as well. They haven't submitted an application yet, and that's because, from what I understand, most recently they were guided towards the Board of Adjustment
Yes.
first
Does-
for
is that what-
variances.
Is that what they're going to do first then?
Correct.
Okay, so they're not
Yes.
really coming to us right away, right?
No,
They're going to the Board of
that would
Adjustment
be more on
first.
the horizon for maybe a May or a June
Oh,
Board of
it'll be-
Adjustment, and then,
Do you know
Oh,
what
yeah.
they're, specifically what they're asking for at the Board of Adjustment?
uh,
Sorry, do you know specifically what they're asking for at the Board of Adjustment?
I know what they were told, but I want to verify that first.
Okay.
Primarily, it's with zoning things, more than one dwelling on a parcel, then the usual suspects, the lot coverage, natural area, floor area ratio, possible elevations and setbacks. And then parking is always another big one. But I want to verify that with them and then make sure that they have their Board of Adjustment filled out properly. But that would be on the horizon that you might see late summer, early fall. The next one is 330 Rehoboth. They're kind of in the same holding pattern as Canal Side Inn. 330 Rehoboth is the one that wants to rezone. Currently, they are also working up a path forward towards the Board of Adjustment. They are looking to then come in for a minor subdivision. It's one large parcel right now. They want to just get off the two residential portions along State Road to have the one major commercial parcel with a portion of the residential portion as existing parking lot to be separated from the residential portion, so that those can be built on with single-family homes. And then after they get through the minor subdivision, look at what their options are then, coming in for site plan review.
That would still be another rezoning, would it not?
It sounds.
They are, well, currently, they are not looking for a rezoning. What they're looking for is to section off the two residential parcels, and they would then demolish all of the parking lot, build two houses.
Okay.
And then on the other sliver, it's kind of a triangular portion. It's also zoned residential, but it's been used
But that
for
would have
many
to be
years.
rezoned. That part, that,
They are looking for a Board of Adjustment right now that would relieve them from lot coverages
Okay.
and all the other stuff to keep it essentially as being used as a parking lot.
But if you partition it, isn't that a new lot?
Correct, and that's an-
Therefore, wouldn't it need to be rezoned if they intend to use it? Because, well, I don't know. They'd have one lot that's commercial and residential.
Correct. And this is something that may be asked at a Board of Adjustment for a zoning purpose. I have to still talk, it's in
Because the
very
commissioners
concept
have already
phases right now.
turned down rezoning, correct? The
Yes, ma'am.
Board of Commissioners.
Yes, they have.
Isn't this just a different rezoning request, and isn't that more appropriate, a revised request of the Board of Commissioners rather than a question for the Board of Adjustment?
I can reach out with them. The first thing that struck my mind was any type of lot separation, minor subdivision, anything like that. You can't create a nonconformity
Yeah.
when you alter the parcel. That specific question we can look into for legal reasons. That is what I know of so far of what is kind of concept right now of what nothing at all has been hammered out yet. No applications have been submitted, but that is the most up-to-date information I have on 330 Rehoboth.
Sounds like it's still in progress. Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
The last one that I have is the Oceanside Reserve. Major subdivision, that is currently with legal. There are a couple questions that the city manager wanted them to opine on. And after that, we'll have another meeting scheduled with Secretary Dewey to go over can compile all the information.
That's Baymart or?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah,
Okay.
Baymart, the new Oceanside Reserve.
Mr. Schinko, thank you. I know you've done a whole lot of work in a short time, so I really do thank you for playing catch-up.
Right.
And we hope it will be more moderated going forward.
I hope so.
And I'd like to add my thanks to you for advancing those conditions and for looking for conditions, because obviously adherence to the code is the bare minimum. And, you know, I don't think anybody gets special credit for doing what the code tells them to do. But your input to us who can enhance and improve these projects beyond what the code requires is very helpful.
I want to thank you too. I mean, it's been a really refreshing to have these reports come out and to have visibility into what's going on, and it's terrific. So thank you.
I hope to have these, what I just orated to you, in a document so that you can have it at future meetings.
Very good.
Time constraints, I didn't have time yet.
We understand. Anything else? He's, I guess, already taken care of any new applications as well, so we're to citizen comment at this point.
We're going to talk about meeting dates.
Ah, that's right.
But what's going on with Scarborough Extended? Where did that go? The
Board of Adjustment.
It's at Board of Adjustment, the Scarborough Extended.
Correct, it's at Board of Adjustment. That will also be heard, so the Scarborough Extended and the 17 Baltimore should be interesting for you to hear as they pertain to either ongoing or potential planning commission meetings.
So they're looking for a variance from having to have 50 feet of frontage on a public street?
They're appealing the building inspector's decision.
Okay.
This one's interesting. All of this happened before the personnel change. So the building inspector denied their application for a lot separation because the driveway essentially doesn't connect to a public road. It connects to a deeded access easement. And they are appealing based off of powers given to the Board of Adjustment to hear appeals of a building inspector for anything in Chapter 270 or any ordinance supplemental hereof. And so I'm going to let the legal team handle that with the Board of Adjustment's legal team to see what they say as far as jurisdiction goes. And I will be at the whim of legal on that one. But that's essentially what they're appealing. They are of the mind that they can do it because it was previously deeded in such a way and construed in such a way years ago.
But the lots that they showed us or that were circulated in the first application weren't the same. They were different the lines were different than the originals.
So-
I think, that's what I recall. But I guess it's not before us. It's through the Board of Adjustment right now. Got it.
Do you have anything to report on mixed use zoning?
Yes.
I'll turn that over to Nick.
How
Thank
much
you.
time do you have?
Yeah, right. I will keep this short, unlike everything else. So we had our second meeting this past 2 weeks ago, I guess it was? Week ago, gosh, flies. We've developed some drafts of the tenets that we're going to be working to help shape the format and the framework of the updated code to address mixed use. And we're actually going to be trying to get on the Planning Commission's agenda for May to give a presentation to you all on what those tenets are and our path forward. And then subsequent to that in June, meeting hopefully with the Board of Commissioners to give a similar presentation, but reflecting your guys' input at that time. After that, we'll come back to the task force with all of the input from the boards, present all of that information, and then look into the specific components that the mixed-use portion of the code needs to contain in order to comprehensively address all of the different elements that are required to, effectively regulate those type of proposals. So, when I say that, I mean, height limitations, setbacks, the FAR, all of the details that we have for the other zoning districts, we need to replicate those elements, enhance them to make sure that we're effectively considering all the different needs that we have for a mixed-use proposal, in addition to all the incentive-based portions that are striving to address the goals of the comprehensive development plan as well.
So you have another meeting that you're scheduling or is scheduled for the committee?
Well, we are going to wait until after the presentations to the Planning Commission and the Board of Commissioners so that we get all of their input and so that we can then provide that updated information as it regards the tenants to the task force. That way we don't go down a path that isn't supported by yourselves and the Board of Commissioners. Does that make sense?
In some fashion, yes, sir.
As much as I do.
Okay. All right, you need to be sensitive to the fact that our May agenda
Is packed.
is going to be quite crowded.
Understood.
So we'll do the best we can.
That's all I ask. I will keep it as short and as brief as possible. The tenants, are going to be our focus. We can get through those fairly quickly if I keep it at a high level. The rest is up to you and responding to your questions, so.
Anybody else? Any other questions? All right, thank you. Would you check your calendars, please, and see if May 30 works as the next Planning Commission meeting?
Oh, good, my in-laws are here.
I think everybody said yes, that it's okay, is that right? In some
Yes.
fashion?
I said yes, my in-laws are here, it's perfect.
There's a good reason.
Second in-law joke of the day.
Well, we could have a 2-day meeting. Now, all right, what about June? How does June 27th look for everyone? And this may not be your final answer, because I've sprung this on you.
Works for me.
I'm fine with it.
I'm going to have to check.
Sure. We'll just get back to Bill or myself, if you would. All right?
So then the idea would be that if the May 30th is definite and June is pending, but the advantage to it being at the end of the month is it would allow notice time to move forward anything from May, right?
Anything that would require a public hearing can be
right,
properly
can-
noticed if we
yes,
move the
okay.
June meeting to June 30th.
And then no specific plan yet for July or forward?
No.
Okay.
So we're sticking right now, though, with June 13th until we hear differently, or we take that off our calendar.
Well, I think, I have not heard any objection yet, and I do know that we have run into a notification problem for June. So I would like very much to be able to nail that down right away.
So I think the 13th.
Well, I know I'm available on June 13th. I just don't know about pushing it out 2 more weeks.
Yeah, just let us know.
And I'd like to also just raise a question to put on the table. No decisions, obviously, today. But the Board of Adjustments meets on Monday, and I think Monday is a much better date. It would, for me personally, because one of the problems I have coming back and forth from out of town, you've got the entire weekend to get here before the meeting on Monday afternoon. Whereas on Friday, that's when the doctor's appointments during that week, Wednesday, Thursday, whatever. And I personally think Monday would be, for my own purposes, a much better day than Friday, but I'm just mentioning that.
Like summer traffic, right? Yeah, I'm agreeing with you, yeah.
All right, let's
It's
take a
just-
look
just
at it.
Just a thought.
Yeah,
It will have to be the third, the Board of Adjustment is it the last Monday or the fourth Monday? It's the fourth Monday, so we would have to probably be the third.
Well,
Right.
whatever, I'm just suggesting Monday.
Okay.
Well, I think that for what we have pending, May and June, we hopefully can
Oh,
nail
yeah, no,
down.
I'm not suggesting, but
to a
I'm
Friday.
looking out
Yeah.
a ways. Given that this is the first time that we have met on our regular meeting day
Right.
since last September.
Right. Yeah.
Yes, that's right. All right, anything else? Yes, sir.
There was one thing I forgot to add with the report, and it reminded me of your some excellent questions on these rezonings, was that the Assistant City Manager did have, Evan Miller worked up a revised draft of the change of zoning designation request process. So in the ever empty schedules that you have in the upcoming months, that could be placed on an agenda as well.
I think it was just a one-page document, as I remember.
I'd have to take a look at that again.
I mean, I think one of the things that you'd brought up in our biweekly meeting was the idea of having a special meeting just to deal with, issues as opposed to applications.
For city matters.
Yeah, right. So that the rezoning and the mixed use would occur at a separate meeting. Of course, that means we all have to get here on a different day, but that was one possibility that had come up.
Okay, lots to do.
Yeah.
We're adjourned.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.